So this is Rodney Alcala, also known as the dating game killer, as he was also once a contestant on a dating show while being a full-blown serial killer. Let me explain. Rodney Alcala was born in 1943 and grew up in Los Angeles. From the outside, he seemed like your typical guy, even graduating from UCLA and studying film at New York University. In 1968, Rodney's twisted side first came to light. A motorist in Los Angeles saw him luring an 8-year-old girl named Tali Shapiro into his apartment. The guy called the cops, and when they arrived, they found Tali beaten and assaulted, barely alive. But Rodney, he'd slipped out the back and disappeared. Fast forward a few years, Rodney's still on the loose, now using fake names and pretending to be a photographer. He even worked as a camp counselor for kids under the alias John Berger. By the late 70s, Rodney had escalated. He would lure women and girls by claiming to be a professional photographer, convincing them to pose for his portfolio. But here's the sick part. He didn't just kill his victims. Prosecutors say he toyed with them, strangling them until they passed out, letting them regain consciousness, and then doing it all over again before finally ending their lives. Now let's talk about the dating game moment. In 1978, Rodney actually appeared as a contestant on the popular TV show. The host introduced him as a successful photographer, just casually ignoring the fact that he was a convicted rapist and registered sex offender. And guess what? He won the game. But thankfully, the woman he was paired with refused to go on the date because she found him too creepy. Meanwhile, Rodney's crimes continued. One of his most infamous victims was Robin Samso, a 12-year-old girl who disappeared while riding her bike to ballet class in 1979. Her body was found days later, and evidence, like a pair of earrings belonging to her, linked Rodney to the crime. But that was just the beginning. When police searched Rodney's Seattle storage locker, they uncovered hundreds of photographs of women, girls, and even boys. Some of these images were later used to identify other victims. And here's the terrifying part. Many of those people in the photos have still never been found. Rodney was eventually convicted of 5 murders, but investigators believed the real number could be over 100. In 2010, he was sentenced to death in California, and even while on trial, Rodney, ever the narcissist, represented himself, rambled to the jury, and even played an Arlo Guthrie song during his closing argument. Rodney Alcala spent the rest of his life on death row before dying of natural causes in 2021